So did you know that there's this incredible magic inside you? And that when you get into your body, you get into your life force and the way that you're designed to be living and creating, you create magic. And this is what being a light warrior ultimately means. So if you're interested in being a light warrior, in getting out there, doing what you love, and helping play your part in co-creating this new world that we're all talking about, then this show is for you. And this conversation today with my dear friend Marianne Hartley is for you. Here we go. Hello and welcome. Welcome to the LightWarrior Show. It's a real pleasure to have you here. I'm Edward Pike. I'm going to be your host. And this podcast, this show is really a place to explore all things light warrior. So what does it mean to be a light warrior? What are the challenges and the struggles and the stories of some people that I would define as light warriors? And what are some of the ways, the practices, the tools or the exercises that they use to remain in their power, remain connected to their mission and their magic? And what is some of the wisdom that they have to share through their work, or through what they are creating and bringing into the world? This is what we're going to be diving into in this podcast. And in this very first episode, I'm just going to outline a little bit the show and the series. And we're going to dive straight into a wonderful conversation with my dear friend Marianne Hartley. And I'll tell you more about Marianne just before we dive into the interview. But before we do that, I just want to share a little bit more about who I am, Edward Pike, the Light Warrior Coach, what I do, my own story to being a Light Warrior, and what this whole series is really about. So first question, I guess, is who am I? Who the heck is Edward Pike? He calls himself the Light Warrior Coach. And I want to just give you a bit of background on that word and why that word, first of all. Because the word Light Warrior was something I received a while ago, a year and a half ago, and I resisted so much for a while. I also resisted the word magic. And in hindsight, I can see that part of that reason was because light warrior, especially light worker, is so overused in spiritual circles. And it's actually used in a way that's super disempowering and disconnecting and disembodying. That was my experience. We'll talk about that, the new age spiritual bullshit that's going on in this podcast a lot. So be braced for that. But that was one reason why I really resisted that word. I didn't want to be associated with that kind of energy in that realm, despite going through that myself in the past. But it kept coming back. The word light warrior really was strong, and the moment I actually claimed and owned the word, it started to reveal more and more its own meaning, in the meaning that I feel from it. Which is, for me, the light warrior is someone who, as the word entails, it's really made up of two words, light and warrior. So it's those of us that are really bridging the earth and the sky, bridging the body and the soul, the physical and the spiritual, the cosmos and the earth, the ground. And there's something deeply powerful in my experience about when we do that. And that is the magic. That is when we really step into our power, when we can start to discern what is right for us. We can start to create what we love. We can relate in a way that is pleasurable, that is authentic, that is just fun and sincere. And it's a place, this connection, this sweet spot between the body and the soul, between our physicality and our spirituality. In my experience, this sweet spot is where we meet our gifts, our greatest gifts, where we meet our potential, the potential that lies in our physicality, deep in ourselves and our physical potential, but also the potential of our spiritual self, of our soul. And that is our creative uniqueness. It's our power. It's how we create, how we relate, how we do in a way that is so pleasurable and unique to us, and in a way that is impactful to others and transformative and healing, and ultimately helps all of us, helps us get out of our heads into our bodies and to create the change that we're here to create. So after resisting the word light warrior and finally owning it, it's become clear, it was becoming increasingly obvious how I'm just surrounded by light warriors. These people those of you that are doing their best to be authentic, to show up in a way that is powerful, and to do what we love. And doing what we love is not some fluffy spiritual woo-woo thing. That's one super important thing. And I just want to mention that early on, and maybe I'll mention it, keep mentioning it to remind us, but doing what we love is not a woo-woo fluffy thing. Doing what we love, what lights us up, is ultimately how the universe, the cosmos, whatever you want to call it, communicates to us. It's how we're guided in our lives. And as we'll see, we'll be talking a bit about human design throughout the series. Everyone has a unique relationship to that. So everyone's being, body's guiding system is different, is unique. I mean, there are some broad strokes and categories, but it's important for you to understand how your unique guiding system works. And that's something we'll look at in the next episode, or in one of the next episodes at least. I'm going to read you a quote from Laura Matsu, who I think really encapsulates everything that, for me, a light warrior is, which is, and more than encapsulates what a light warrior is, encapsulates this whole topic of embodying our magic, of being more of our uniqueness, and stepping into our power as a result of it. So she says, the more you are being truly yourself, in brackets, individuated, the more uniquely creative you are. Being true to you gives you access to more creative energy. So take that in for a moment. Being true to you gives you access to more creative energy. That is the magic that I'm speaking of, okay? That is being true to you and true to your body and what your body loves and your body needs in terms of movement and exercise and food and rest and sunlight and all of these things, which we all have a unique need. So one person might need this type of food and one person might need this type of food. But understanding your uniqueness in that realm, as well as understanding your uniqueness in your connection with your soul and your spiritual potential, this is what gives you the creative power and your creative energy to ultimately do what you love in a way that is impactful and clear, and ultimately brings you fulfillment, satisfaction, abundance, and helps you play your part in co-creating this new society, this better, more beautiful world and planet that we all, or at least from my experience, that us light warriors really feel it inside. And not from a woo-woo kind of fairy tale magical thinking place. It's in our hearts, it's in our bodies, it's in our cells, and we know it's possible, and we know it's something that we're here to be doing. And I want to invite you to take that in, to really feel that knowing in your body, in your cells, that this is possible, that you're here to do what you love, that you're here to be in your body, in your magic, and in your power. So that's the essence of the entire series, really. This is what we're going to be exploring. These three aspects, let's call it: the body, the soul, and our creative power. we're going to be exploring our uniqueness, our human design, how to get out of our minds and our conditioned selves. We're going to be looking at things like cults and abuse and spiritual abuse, all this new age brainwashing, conditioning that we're picking up along the way, and that is very rampant in many circles and people, and actually disempowers us totally. So really, that's the key, is looking at how these things disempower us and keep us out of our power and our magic, and stop us from ultimately being who we're born to be, these incredible, powerful beings. That often we get stuck in these loops. We think we're moving forwards, but actually we're not. So we're going to be looking at how to break these patterns, how to break these loops, so we can step into who we're meant to be, and into the light warriors that we're all ultimately doing our best to become. And speaking of light warriors, I'm going to introduce you now to the wonderful Marianne Hartley. So I met Marianne maybe, I want to say, coming up to 9 years ago, through KPI, which is an entrepreneurship program in London, Key Person of Influence, it stands for, which was on my first kind of courses of opening up, of trying to step into my own leadership and to expand what I was doing. And at the time, I was working in the fitness industry, and I was thinking of new ways to help people with their own self-love, also help people to enjoy exercise, help people to stop yo-yoing, as I mentioned before. So I'd kind of worked on this program, this brand called Love Fitness. And I met Marianne through that program. She came to this Pitch Fest event that I was speaking at, where I shared about Love Fitness in a very connected way, and it felt so true and real at the time. And I got the highest scores they'd ever had, 10 out of 10 from all the judges, and it was a real impactful moment for me, because standing on that stage and speaking from my pelvis and my heart and my belly, I could really feel the impact it had on others. You could hear like a pin drop. People were so in tune with that clarity that I was bringing through. So for that sense, it was incredible and successful. And yet, I then got really scared. Scared might be the wrong word, but part of the pitch was I asked for someone to mentor me, and I got offered to be mentored by the person who actually founded the whole program. And in our first mentoring session, he kind of gave me a list of things that I needed to do. Write a book and do this and do that. And he kind of gave me this roadmap that of course they use in KPI. And I remember my heart sinking, my belly feeling icky. And that was a moment where I kind of, again, recognized that wasn't where I was at. I still needed to do so much more. There was that sense that there was more to embody and learn and do before I returned to share my message and my work in that way. So it freaked me out a little bit, and I started to explore these other ways of working with people. Anyway, that was how I met Marianne. I think the first time I met her after the event, I remember this beaming smile and this being just wide, magical, brilliant eyes filled with love already. And that's really been my experience of her ever since. We've kept in touch throughout the last 8 years. We've seen each other in person whenever we can. She's been in Switzerland, I've been in Crete. And we've already recorded a couple of podcasts together. When I was doing the Temple podcast, she was a guest I had a couple of times, and we've had some amazing conversations throughout, personally over the years, but also on the podcast in the past couple of years. So she's someone that I truly appreciate, and for me really is a true light warrior, as you'll see, someone who is living in integrity with her soul and her intuition, even when it looks difficult or challenging or goes against the grain on the surface. So Marianne Hartley is a brand designer. She's an energy healer. She is now an author, as you'll hear. And she's the founder of an agency called Hartley Soul. And what she does through this agency and through her work is she really combines these worlds of energy healing and brand design to help her clients really create brands that are, as she calls them, irresistible, because they come from the inside out. They don't come from, how do I get clients? What's the type of logo I need to get clients? They come from a really nourishing place. They come from the person's own alignment with their uniqueness, the uniqueness of their brand, and they come from that magical inner place. So she's got 25 experience in branding. She's worked with companies like Bacardi, Intercontinental Hotels and Toyota, and the Royal Academy of Arts, to name a few. But now she only works with entrepreneurs that really have a purpose and a mission. And she lives in and works in London and Basel, but she, of course, works with clients all over the world with her amazing process, which she now has a book about, that really gives you an incredible way of running through some of her best exercises that she does with her clients. The book is called Align and Shine, and I'll post a link below in the show notes. And I highly recommend you get yourself a copy, because it will really help you get clear on your uniqueness as a person, as a brand, as an organization, so that you can start to, or continue, or deepen to create your work from that place. At the end of our conversation with Marianne, I ask her to share with us a piece of music that she thinks represents best her magic and what being a light warrior is all about. So make sure you sit tight until the end of the interview to hear what song she chose. And because it's a beautiful song, I did not know it at all. And the lyrics really speak to us in a new and moving way. So stick around to the end of the episode for that. So here you go. I introduce you to Marianne Hartley. So Marianne, it's really good to speak to you again. This is our third little conversation podcast together, and you came straight to mind when I was feeling or tuning into this topic, how aligning with our uniqueness, our own unique creative power really is our magic. And I know that that's been your personal journey. I know that's your professional, definitely, journey, and we'll speak about both of those. So hello, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm very well, thanks, and it's really gorgeous to be having another conversation together.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we had one that we didn't record a couple of months ago, where I was asking you, if you remember, about being a light warrior and what that means. And I was still kind of doing this research of which was really useful, because it really cemented my confidence and understanding in this kind of topic, and in this type of person that I'm really curious to meet and explore and hear and share the stories of these, what I call light warriors around the world, like yourself. So I want to kind of go back to one of those questions which I asked you then, and I'm curious to hear your answer now to see if it's the same or it's different. So my question was and is, what is a light warrior for you in your own words?
So for me, a light warrior is someone who listens to their own truth and maybe does things in a way that not necessarily the norm, or doesn't necessarily fit into a pattern that is, expected or given to us. And it's about really tuning in and following our own heart, and following our truth. And obviously the actions that we take and the words we speak are intended, for the highest good, not just of ourselves, but for others as well. So there's by following our own truth, Marianne Williamson's quote comes up when I say that, it's about when you shine your light, then you automatically give other people permission to do the same. And by following our own path, and maybe following a slightly unusual path, or it doesn't have to be unusual, it's just like, as long as it's totally in tune with our own heart and our beliefs. So when we follow this path in alignment with who we truly are, then that sort of opens up a space and can inspire others to do the same, because we're all totally different, and yet we all have a lot of similarities. But I believe we all have something unique to bring and to do. If we're alive, we've got a reason, that there's a reason for us to be alive right now. So and it's for us to discover what this unique gift is. And when we're aligned, when we're at one with ourselves, then things flow. There's we create harmony in ourselves and with the people we come across, and it spreads out, has a ripple effect.
Yeah, beautiful. So you're really speaking about integrity, aren't you? Yeah. People
Authenticity, integrity, just being real, also, and also vulnerable at times. It's about our truth is not going to necessarily fit with everyone else's expectations, but it's choosing our truth, for ourselves, but also for the highest good of everyone.
Yeah, beautiful. So how has that been for you? Like, you're speaking from your experience, I'm sure. I'm curious to hear your story of living in alignment with your authenticity and your integrity and everything that you've spoken of. How's your journey been with doing that?
So I think, to be honest, I think it's a never-ending story, right? It's like you've never arrived, but it's like a fine-tuning always, and it's like it's like following your inner compass. So you sort of feel when something feels a bit off, and it's like, sometimes it may make absolute logical sense, but it doesn't feel good in the body. And it's about really, when something doesn't feel good in the body, that is my compass. And for example, actually, I was years back, I used to go and listen to His Holiness the Dalai Lama several times. Like, I try and go at least once a year, and I was studying Buddhism at the time, and I was really immersed. And I remember a friend offering me a ticket to go and see the Dalai Lama in France, and I was just not feeling it. And I was like, I don't understand, like, of course I want to, listen to the teachings. Of course I want to be with other people who have a similar interest, but I just was not feeling it at all in my body. So I said, thank you so much, but I don't think, please gift it to somebody else. And it was so weird to me because it didn't make logical sense at all. And then the event got cancelled, so it didn't actually happen. And the friend Mike, who had wanted to give me the ticket, he was like, oh my God, next time, before I'm booking something,
I'm checking with
to
you.
ask you. And maybe that might be that didn't feel bad, but I just could not feel it. And before making decisions, or, if I'm before a project as well, it's like I tune into it and I sort of feel into it. But, we're all different. So it's the technique or the way is going to be different for everyone. But for me, it's like something that I feel in my body and generally in my belly. And so I sort of feel into the project, and then I have pictures, or I have, images that come to me of how it's going to look at the end before I start a design, or, or even before a conversation with someone, I use a technique very well, the tuning in to the heart, and it just opens up a space which takes me out of my head, because I think most of us spend most of our time in our heads, and that's just a whole society, is very heady, but that's not the best navigation system. It's like we're actually cut off from the biggest part, which has the most information, when we give it the space. And so there's that a knowing in our body that is, it's not logical, but it's sort of knows. I don't know how to describe it really, besides it's just a feeling, the gut feeling. And,
totally.
I think that's the best navigation system.
That's awesome. And as you're right, it is quite intangible and illogical at times. And I love that you brought that up, because that, being a light warrior is, the only way to really affect change and to be in our power and be in our magic is to be in our bodies and to be in our uniqueness, to go back to that topic.
Yeah. And it's like, events like memories are stored in us, in the cells of our body. There's I think there's I can't remember who wrote about this, but that the memory of the cells, or cellular memory.
Yeah.
It's like, so we store things in our cells. So it's not just a thought. It literally is, a physical experiences and memories sort of live within ourselves. So obviously we also want to, any sort of challenging experiences we've had, and everyone has share, sometimes huge amounts, sometimes less, but we've all have our challenges, have had our challenges. And if we don't sort of look at these and sort of release them, they literally get stuck. And I feel that the body then gets, stuck as well. And anyway, that might be going off on another tangent, but
no,
it's really the wisdom of the body, really.
Yeah, totally. And so how do you have a way that you when you notice yourself being stuck and maybe being a bit out of alignment, how do you find your way back to your body, for example?
So different things. Sometimes I need to just write out whatever's going on. So writing, I find, really helps. So it's a bit like a brain dump, I just sort of, whatever is going on, if I can't see clearly, it's just like I need to sort of put it out of my head onto paper. I generally don't keep these sorts of writings, because I don't want anybody to read that. It's like, I want to get
the
it
mad
out.
ramblings of Marianne.
And it's something, that's worth burning, or definitely just letting go of. But so writing is one way. Then dancing sometimes, or just shaking, literally just shaking the body. And there's some qigong exercises, I think, which is like, it's literally, I think it's called shaking, and you're literally standing there just shaking, and eventually it's like you can feel that the energy shifts. Or depending what it is, screaming in a cushion is also another technique that can be very freeing. But You know, you need to have a good cushion and no neighbors to to get worried about. And then nature is always my go-to. Like, I walk in nature, and if I'm feeling stuck or I'm not clear what the next step is, sleep, swimming, water is, I find, really, really healing and helpful. And yeah, and then also meditating, sitting with it, you know, just letting, not having to take an immediate action. So if I don't know, or if something's stuck, the temptation is to want to have this resolved as quickly as possible. So we get out of, you know, because we don't like being uncomfortable. And also sometimes just going, yeah, I feel really uncomfortable right now. Okay. Sort of actually acknowledging it and say, that's how it is right now. That doesn't mean I'll stay in this state. So, and a conversation with a friend, you know, speaking to someone, that's also just, again, having, but not someone who's going to try and fix you, just someone who can hold the space for you, let you express yourself, and maybe that having a reflection, or like, you know, but yeah, so you need to choose your friends with whom to do this.
Yeah, very true. And how do you, so specifically, how do you know in that moment what technique or tool or practice do you, how do you do that?
Again, I think it's just more or less, it's intuitive. It's whatever I feel like, or it's like, oh my God, I'm feeling stuck and I just need to get up and shake, or just jump around for 5 minutes, or go out and walk around the block, or yeah, movement, like physically move the body helps move the energy or the stuckness as well. And I'm sure, you know, many of us have ideas that come to us in the shower, like, and it's sort of when we've switched off, like we're not consciously or specifically thinking about a problem or a challenge or a situation, and in the shower suddenly you go, oh, what about this? You know, it's like our mind is receptive because we're not thinking about anything. And so yeah, having a bath or having a shower, again, it's something that helps shift the energy.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm kind of linking this back also as you're speaking to the topic of uniqueness. We all have our unique ways, and isn't it, to get back into the body, and we pick up all these different tools and practices and things along our own unique journey. So just to kind of ask you another question on that, I'm curious if you were to define, you know, what is unique about you as a person, before we move into what you do in the world and how you help others, what's unique about perhaps your journey or your story, or just you as a person? What would the first thing that comes to mind be?
Strange, isn't it, saying it about ourselves? I find that more challenging than saying it about someone else, or allowing somebody else to say it about you. So what I can tell you what I love. So it's like, I love people. So I love connecting with people. I love discovering, you know, different countries, different cultures. I'm curious about the world, and I'm curious. Obviously, I absolutely love beauty in nature, in people, in art, in architecture. That really makes my heart sing. So the connection part, I think, is unique, because that's also the feedback I receive from friends or clients, and the curiosity probably allows me to then do the work that I do.
How do these unique things that you love, you know, people, curiosity, beauty, nature, art, architecture, what you named, how are they weaved into your work? How do you
Yeah.
support people with that? And yeah, tell us in your own words.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So, so, so I'm in branding and design, and as a child, I loved drawings. I've always loved, drawing. My mum and a dear friend of hers who was an artist, we spent a lot of time in galleries. So I sort of grew up with art around me, and so I always loved, yeah, sort of sculptures, paintings, and yeah, the sort of, I was sensing or picking up the energy from different works of art, because it's quite a powerful communication tool. So as a teenager, I was really sort of struck by what we see, on a daily basis on billboards or advertising, and how the images really didn't make me feel very good at all. And I was like, wouldn't it be great if the images we saw on a daily basis were more like, the feeling you can get in an art gallery, where you walk in and you feel really like you've received something, and you walk out enriched and fulfilled, with it, like nourished, because art has that, it sort of, I think it nourishes our soul, and it has something that's giving, whereas the advertising is like, buy me, buy me, buy me. Once you've bought me, you're going to feel okay.
Yeah, what
Once you
can I
look like this, you're going
manipulate
to be
with? Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I never liked that. I thought, what, I didn't buy into it. And I was looking at it thinking it's horrible, and I didn't like the energy. And I was like, well, if it's all good, liking or not liking something, but maybe I can try and do something about it. So that's how I then studied graphic design, and I studied in Switzerland, and then came to London with my portfolio under my arm and a list of design agencies, and just called them up and had interviews, and eventually was offered like a week's work as a freelance. And then I sort of, in the past 28 years, which seems crazy, but yeah, 28 years I've been in this field, and I was employed for 6 years out of the 28 years, and the rest I've been freelance. And since 2013, really, that's when I set up Hartley Soul, and that's really when I've sort of allowed myself to bring everything that I love into one. So design, and also the sort of spiritual and energy healing aspects, to bring them together, because they totally make sense to me, that they belong together, because what we look at has such an impact on how we feel. And I think brand identity really needs to represent the values, the highest values of the person and the company, so that employees can really align with those values and the vision, and clients as well either feel drawn to it, or doesn't speak to them, so it sort of repels them nearly, it's like, or they don't see it because it just doesn't resonate, there's no connection. So that was a very long-winded answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was awesome, because I really I really, in that story, of seeing the billboards, how old were you then? Was that like teenager, child, or
No, well, I was aware as a child. I was always surprised that not the galleries weren't packed. There weren't that many people in galleries, and I always thought, why don't people come and see these things? Because it's beautiful. I mean, sometimes it's stark, and I could see obviously these the billboards that are more like they are a bit like a punch in the face, because
Yeah,
you've got,
total. And
you know,
manipulative. Yeah,
yeah, and
totally.
it's like you need me, and then you're going to be okay. And it really, it taps into our sense of not being good enough, that every one of us has, to various degrees. But when we're not conscious of it, it's like we can be completely, sort of pulled along without realizing that.
Yeah.
And we know, once we've got the car, I'm not against buying things, but that in itself is not ever going to give us the fulfillment that we're really looking for. But when something is created from the inside out, and your brand really stands for who you are, it's like a living entity, and it feeds you, it nourishes you, it reminds you why you're doing what you're doing, and you look at it and it brings you joy, and you're like, oh God, I love this, it makes you feel good. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, because I was reminded to what you said at the beginning about being a light warrior, being in your body and be able to discern and then follow through with your integrity. And I can totally see that in that experience as a teenager or a child, sensing there's something off here, sensing there's something that's not right. And then actually taking the steps over 28 years plus to do something different, to create something that was, more nourishing and connected and for you. Yeah, beautiful story.
Thanks.
So how you've kind of started touching on it, but how do you help? How do you help others is the big question. What do you do? You've already kind of mentioned that, but how do you really help? What's the, I would love to hear a bit more about the impact, I guess, on your clients, of course, but also their clients or the people around them. And maybe in there's a story. I don't know if you have a story to tell us about a client story that you would love and feel, and you're free to share, then you can also weave that into this if you like to.
Thank you. So I think, like, in short, I bring out the inner values out and make them visible through the design of the brand. And but the first stage really is it's like a deep dive into ourselves, into what's unique about this person, this business, and what's unique about their vision. So that's the brand alignment is always the very first thing that I do, and it's a full day, because there's so many layers, and we can go, we need to go deep really to find this inner connection, where then when we really know what we're doing, who for, and why we're doing it, really that our purpose, our drive, our raison d'être, our reason for being here, when we really connect with that, nothing can shake us off balance. Nothing can, we can obviously change course, but that comes, again, that's because it'll be an inner decision or an inner choice, but not because of external events or external influences. So the first part is like, there's a coaching aspect, I guess. I wouldn't sort of call it that way, but it's, it's the brand alignment. So it's all about diving deep and unearthing really the unique treasure that this business, this person is here to share, and who for. So that's the first part. So really, before creating any designs, before sort of translating that into the visual aspect, it's really important to go into sort of depth. And one client, after the brand alignment session, she was like, oh my God, she actually said she could feel like it was like the cells of her body were realigning. And she said, I don't know what you've done, but it's like she really felt, she felt like she was embodying it fully. And I think that's it. It's like when we show up in our fullness, and our brand and our brand really represents this, it's really satisfying. You feel proud, you feel confident, you feel like you can show up, you can just show up as who you are. And when our brand's off, you know, it's a bit like, I'm sure you've been to an event or a networking or something, and someone gives you their card and they go, oh God, but then look at the website, it's
Yes.
terrible. You know? It's like, just, yeah, and it's, you know, out of date, and it really, it's not what I do anymore. And I don't really like these, never liked this. So it's like, that makes my heart sink, because it's like, your brand can be there to really just allow you to flourish and to flow and to really support you in doing what you're here to do. And yeah, it gives you energy. So I can't say 50%. I can't say I don't have a statistic around it, but again, it's a feeling when your brand does you justice, does your business and yourself justice, and really expresses who you are and what you offer. And it's it creates
an energy
and a lightness. And otherwise it's a bit like walking with a stone in your shoe, you know, or not even a stone, like it can be a little stone. It's not even painful, but it's annoying, you know. It's there constantly.
Yeah, I've totally had that experience with the LightWarrior coach, and you know, trying different brands and different kind of expressions over the past years, and looking back, the difference with exactly what you're mentioning, the difference now where there's this like drive and joy, and yes, it's like a full body gut. Yes, it's very different to even like, you know, a year ago what I was putting out into the world. So I totally understand what you're saying.
And
yes,
it sort of
exactly
moves you forward, you know. You want to get out of bed in the morning. It's like it's energizing. When it's not working, it's like it's a bit like a, you know, when there's a water drip. Again, it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna kill anyone, it's not dangerous, but it's so annoying. Like, it's constantly there, and it does drain your energy when your brand's not aligned.
Beautiful. And you're really speaking about, you know, alignment is really coming into in that uniqueness, right? If we go back to that topic, that uniqueness. And what, in your experience, perhaps in your experience with clients, I don't know, in your professional and personal experience, when someone really gets that, steps into what you said, that uniqueness of what they do, you know, how they show up in the world, what have you noticed? What's the immediate, like, you know, you've already mentioned it about someone feeling deeply more and more in their body than connected with their cells, waking up. Tell us more about that experience, perhaps, or another one about, you know, when we really find our, what I would call our magic, you know, our uniqueness is our magic. What is the impact? How does that shape us and shape others and ripple out, as you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast?
Often what I've noticed, for example, you know, the before and after having the brand. So before, there might be tightness also, even, you know, or worry or like concern. And once the brand is revealed and it really aligns with who they are and aligns with their uniqueness, there's like, literally, I've seen many clients just sort of having this sense of relief. It's like, oh, and, you know, like their shoulders drop and they sort of sit back and they go, oh, wow, you know. And it's like, it's like, oh, yes, you know, this.
Is it like, I can stop pretending? Is that this, I can stop trying to be what I've been taught marketing is, which is being outside of myself? Is that?
Yes. Yeah. And also, I think there's at one stage, that's before I start working with my clients, there's a worry that it may not be, they'll never be able to communicate it fully. You know, that sense of how am I going to get that across? What if it doesn't work? What if, you know, what if the designs I create are not what they want? You know, there is, I think that's a normal fear before you start a project. It's like, are they going to get me? Will I like what they create? You know, that's a sort of, well, You have to sort of trust the process, don't you?
Yeah.
But and once they see the brand and they're like, oh my God. And it's like, it's a bit like putting a mirror in a funny sort of way. It's like, well, you know, we've done all this work and here is the expression of this. And they're like, oh my God. And they can feel that it embodies what we've explored, what we've discussed. And
it really does. I love that word embodies for it as well. The brand embodies, you know, we embody in the body, but also what you're speaking of is making this super intangible, very tangible, you know, with a logo or a product or website. There's like this tangible, you can nearly touch it. I mean, you can't really touch a website, but you know what I mean? It becomes more.
But you can see it.
Yeah. So, and I love that word, that it starts to embody the intangible offering, intangible service.
Yeah.
It has a bit more tangibility thanks to what you do.
And also, you know, with the process, so the translation from this, if you like, the invisible into the visible, the intention behind it is also really important. So, you know, creating the design with the intention that this is, you know, for the success of the company, but of everyone who comes into contact with the brand, that, you know, it is a fulfilling experience for everyone. So having that intention while creating the design, again, that energy is sort of imprinted or encoded in the design. That's the bit I sort of call healing, you know, because obviously I don't do like energy healing for the brand in that way, but it's with the intention. So it's intentional designs, actually. I hadn't thought about that, you know, but it's conscious design as well. It's like consciously creating something. And
and that's a great. I keep using the word segue because I'm listening to so much of this podcast called A Little Bit Culty these days, and they use that word all the time. It's like great segue, so it's just the one that comes to my mind. This is a perfect segue to talking a bit about your book, which is an embodiment of your work, which is how you can, you know, really give people a real taste, a real sense of their uniqueness. So tell us more about your beautiful book, and please show it on the camera. I have the Kindle version, but it doesn't show as well. There you go. Align and shine. Beautiful. Gain an unshakable foundation to build your legacy brand, by Marianne Hartley. So tell us more about the journey to it and what people can find in there.
So the book is like in 3 parts, and it's the process that I take my clients through. So it's the brand alignment process. So you can do it at home alone with the book. So it's and the 3 parts. So the first part is more sort of, you know, logic. So it really links to our left brain. The second part is actually, the first part is called dive, which is, you know, going deep into our reason, the why, who we're here to serve, and what's to really connect with that uniqueness. And then the second part is called discover, and that goes into our right brain, into the intuitive part and illogical part, and that really allows us to connect to the heart on a deeper level. So in a, you know, like on a different level, because with the first part you already get, you know, fantastic insights, and there's also intuitive aspects, but it's more logical, if you like. And with the first part alone, you'd already get a really good foundation for your brand. But I find the magic part is really tuning into the heart, to the intuition, to that aspect that is not linear, not logical, doesn't make any you can't explain it, but you know when it feels right. So that's the second part. And the third part is called define. So it's about bringing both aspects together. And also there's a little guide about, you know, how to brief a designer, because I find that that's often can be a challenge. You know, what do you say? What do you ask for? You know, and basically, if you do this sort of these exercises and go and speak to a designer about, you know, your brand, then you have a great foundation for somebody to then create the visual aspect of your brand, the design, the logo, and the website. Yeah, and there's a Facebook group for anyone who's reading or has read the book, and I do a live once a week. And again, it's going to, you know, evolve, or I wanted to create a space for people to come together, entrepreneurs and visionary business leaders who may want to just, if there's questions around the book, or that we can connect and explore it further.
Beautiful. And yeah, I highly recommend the book, and we'll have a link below the show in the show notes for it.
Thank you.
I'm curious, how was the journey to writing the book? Because I know we both did the KPI program years ago, and part of that was an invitation to write the book. Yeah. And personally, I had this big resistance to it. You know, I had this sense that it was definitely not the right time. And, you know, still 8-10 years later, perhaps it's coming. And I'm wondering how that was for you, going back to like your, you know, that alignment with your integrity and knowing when things are right and knowing when something's not right. How has that experience been for you with getting this book out? Fine. I don't even want to say finally, because that puts an expectation that it should have been done. It's not perfectly at this perfect time.
But I hear you. That's also what I felt, because I did KPI. Actually, it's 11 years ago now, I think. Yeah, it was 2011. No, I finished in 2011, so it was 2010, and I did write my first book then. But I just was not really happy with it. And that book at the time, I entitled it Love Your Brand, What Every Entrepreneur Needs to Know About Branding. And it was before I'd launched Hartley Soul, and it was before I really brought, you know, the sort of spiritual, if you like, and the design aspects together. And for me, that's the really, that's what I wanted to explore and share more of. So yeah, I guess it was like a draft, or, you know, it was good to write a first book, and I've not revisited it before writing this one. So, but the whole process, oh my God, did I have resistance? It was fascinating. I got a book coach because I knew I'd find it really just too hard to do it on my own. So I'd have a weekly check-in. And it was amazing. We started, the very first sort of session was, you know, reminded me of some of the work that I do with my clients. It's also about, you know, what's the vision? Why do you want to write the book? And really connecting to that bigger vision. And there was a lovely exercise about writing yourself a sort of a note, like a postcard, you know, about once you will have completed, and sort of stepping into the future and looking back, and, you know, writing a note to remind me of the journey, or not to give up, or so the challenging part was the little voices, you know, the little nagging voices are, you know, who's going to read it, or why are you doing this? Do you really wanted to do it? So they were very, very loud and clear. So I heard them much more or I became more aware of them. So it's like a training to go, okay, yes, thank you. And I'm going to write anyway, you know. So it's the inner, and then it was nearly an inner battle. And then the resistance that comes up when I was sitting down to write, the washing up seemed much more important. And suddenly the windows absolutely you know. And then I was like, oh my God, that's resistance, isn't it? So yeah, so it's a real journey. And then one of the gifts was really, I'd been doing this process with my clients over the last 8 years intuitively. So there's I knew there were different sort of stages to the work, but each time it was done intuitively. So writing about it really forced me to, okay, how is it? How is it a structure? How can I structure it? And how can I separate it? So it helped me define it for myself more, if you like, and go, okay, yeah, this is absolutely the left brain. This is really the right brain. And that was, I knew they were both aspects, but and writing about it really sort of highlighted how they were important, and that was a unique part.
I was going to ask one question, but there's another one coming around what you just said. No. Okay, I got that bit out. So what okay, this is the question. Here we are, it's coming. What is the one thing that you love most about your book? About your book, I'll ask you, and about the work that you're doing.
Okay, well, about the work that I do, I absolutely love spending that day with clients and really, diving into their why and into their reason, into their purpose. I adore doing this work because it's different each time, because every client, every person is different and unique. So discovering this uniqueness, brings me a lot of joy, and it's mutual. It's like sometimes for the client, it's like acknowledging or naming or claiming something for the first time. So it can be quite emotional and moving. So I really love this about the work that I do. And about the book, what do I love most about the book? The book. What I love most about the book is the book. No.
The tangibility of it, right?
Yeah, it's being able to hold it and
share this beautiful
else read it and it feels, it is like a snapshot in time, I guess. It's like, this is what I'm currently thinking. Of course, everything's evolving, and but I know that these tools really are really helpful and create a strong foundation when implemented.
Beautiful. Okay, so as the closing segment now, so we're going to listen to the piece of music that you chose in a moment, and that will be kind of our way of closing for today. So before we listen, I would love to invite you to share a bit about what that track is and means to you, and why you chose it, and weaving into that, perhaps weaving in a piece of wisdom or something you want to share to other people who are what I would call other light warriors, people who are on this journey to creating what we're here to create, to doing what we love, to navigating our way in society, and it doesn't always support our gifts and our hearts and what we love. So yeah, how would you share that?
So the track I chose is Lenny Kravitz, The Faith of a Child. And it's really, I do love the music, but it's really the words that really touched me. The first time I read through the lyrics, I was like, oh my God, it talks about how we're like branches of a tree, humans, humanity, and we're all connected, and that there are huge challenges happening at the moment, but with the faith of a child, we can come together and find solutions. And I find it, it was powerful then, but it's really powerful now. There's so much going on, and I do believe that, that is sort of my dream, that we come together and find solutions, because we're so resourceful, we're all creative, and we can find solutions to the challenges that we face. So that really, I love and maybe we'll see if we can add the words to the lyrics to the song.
Yeah,
because it's really, it's really powerful. And a word of wisdom, I think. So sometimes, if there are moments or there are times when we're not so crystal clear, what is our thing, or what is our direction, or, what is it that I'm here to bring or to do. And one exercise that I adore doing personally, but I'm visual, so I love creating vision boards, and I find them such a fun thing to do, and really powerful, because cutting out images that inspire you, so that can be a way to sort of discover, or help if there's if we're feeling stuck or unclear on the next step. It's like just literally finding images that inspire you. And again, you don't need to necessarily know why you've chosen this picture of a tree or of this building or this sunset, or just using images, like gathering images that speak to you, and then gathering them together and putting them on a piece of paper or on your screen if you do it on a computer. Really sort of that, it's like it can become like a conversation, looking at these images. It's like, well, what do you feel, what do you see, and it can show you sort of a path into the direction that you're maybe needing to take next. And I've created vision boards for years now, and I love creating them. And it's like you can do one is specifically around one area of your life, whether it's business or relationship or health or friendship or travel. You can do a vision board on a segment, or you can create one with just everything if you want. It's really whatever works for you.
It's a nice exercise, to vision board your uniqueness.
Exactly.
Very nice.
So anything that speaks to you, actually resonates with you for a reason. So whether it's children or cats or cameras or filming
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marianne. That was beautiful to chat with you, really.
Thank you for inviting me. It's always a joy connecting and sharing with you.
It is. And now we're going to play Faith of a Child by Lenny Kravitz. Here we go.
we can't achieve. So why don't we put our minds together and meditate on peace with the faith of a child. We can turn around. Peace can still be found. It starts in your mind. Have the faith of a child. We can turn around. Peace can still be found. It starts in your mind. Have the faith of a child. Have the faith of a child. Have the faith of a child.
That's it. Thank you so much for joining. That's the end of the very first LightWarrior Show. It was a pleasure to speak to you. I hope to see you soon in the next episode. I highly invite you to come and subscribe to my mailing list at lightwarriorcoach.com. You'll be the first to hear about new episodes and any new content, including all the videos, the vlogs, tutorials and workouts from the Embody Your Magic YouTube series. You can also find that at lightwarriorcoach.com. But for now, wherever you are, have a beautiful day, evening, week, and I'll see you soon.